Okay, I want to start this video by saying this is not to bash big weddings. It is not to say that elopements are the only way to get married or the best way to get married and that, you should cancel your big wedding. It's not to say that you shouldn't have family at your wedding. None of that. All this video is a resource for those couples who maybe are struggling with COVID. I know there's a ton of unknowns right now. I've been talking a lot with my own couples and newly inquiring couples about the prospects of, having their 150 to 200 person wedding this summer or fall. And while it's looking good right now, it may very well turn, and we just don't know the effectiveness of all of the restrictions that are being put on right now. So, long story short, there are a lot of couples out there who are struggling planning their bigger weddings. It's difficult to have a backup plan. It's easy to just say, "Oh, have a plan B." Well, that's kind of hard to do when you're putting deposits on things and sending invitations out to people, and people are taking time off work and making travel plans. So, harder said than done. I get that. So this video is for couples who are really just have already kind of made up their minds. They are thinking to themselves, well, maybe this is a good excuse to have the small wedding we always wanted, or I'm just would rather get married right now, and maybe next year if things are looking better, we can plan a bigger reception to celebrate with family and friends. So this video is for the couples who have kind of already decided that the big wedding isn't for them for one reason or the other, and they're now at the point where they're thinking to themselves, what next? So canceling a big wedding, I want to start by saying, is not an easy decision to make. I think that, while eloping is beautiful, and while it's my own personal preferred, way to get married is to have an intimate wedding or to elope, I understand that having family and friends and having a celebration and having a party for everybody to look back on for the years to come is important. And for, I would say, majority of people, that's what a wedding is, and that's what it's about. It's about celebrating with family and friends. And to make the decision against getting married like that is not always easy. Even if you're like me and you think to yourself, well, this would be a beautiful excuse to get to elope instead or to have an intimate wedding, it's still not easy. You're still lots of family and friends and loved ones who are looking forward to a big celebration with you. So that's the first thing I want to say. If you're thinking to yourself, should this be easy? No, it shouldn't. It is a difficult decision to make, and it's a difficult process to navigate. So no, this is not an easy decision that you've come to. The second thing that I want to preface is that it's okay to be selfish. And when I say selfish, I mean it's okay to just have the wedding you want without stressing about every single guest and what their reaction is going to be. So, unless somebody has actually given you money for the wedding or is planning this event for you on your behalf, not even that, unless somebody's like really paying for the wedding, they don't really have a say as to where that money is being spent or to how your celebration is being spent. And so if, you contact your, distant relatives or friends you haven't seen in a while, and you had told them that you're going to have this big wedding and they were all excited to see you again, and then you call them and say, oh, it's canceled. If they're upset, which they shouldn't be, but if they are, just know in your heart that it's not their wedding. They're not putting up any money for it. This was an event that you were doing. Realistically, weddings are not for the couple, they're for guests. So this is something that you were doing for them, and their support or lack of support should not determine your ultimate decision. And that's easy for some stranger to tell you, but that's just big picture how it is. And it sucks. And I get that there's some people out there who have to please people, and I'm just not one of them. It's not my personality. I'm somebody like, if I want something, I just go for it. But not everyone's like that. So it's easier said, especially from, someone you hardly know. But that's a big point that I want to make. So once you understand those 2 points and you're dead set on canceling your wedding, what's the big first step you need to do? The first step you need to do is tell your loved ones. Before you even contact your vendors, once you've made up your mind and you've decided this wedding, big event is being canceled, you need to communicate with your family and your friends and anyone you have set this expectation is going to be attending the wedding. So I would personally start with your most supportive family or friends. So if it is somebody in the wedding party, if it's a parent, if it's a sibling, whoever it may be, whoever is the person who can advocate for you and your opinions, start with them. Have a candid conversation with them. Tell them your pros and your cons. Tell them everything that you're feeling in your heart and get them on your side. And start from the closest people to you and then work your way out. So even if the closest people in your life or the most supportive people in your life are not the ones paying for the wedding, still start with them. And I say that for a couple of reasons. The biggest reason is because it's going to be nice to talk to someone who can kind of echo everything that you're feeling. They're going to support you no matter what. So once you kind of say things like admit that you're going to cancel your wedding out loud, they're going to be there to say, yep, this is what we're doing. I'm going to be there to help you. I will sit down with you and talk with you to other loved ones who maybe not be so supportive. They're going to be your advocate throughout the rest of the process. So once you communicate this with your most closest and supportive friends, and then you're going to work your way outwards to people who you're close with, people who maybe you're not so close with, onward and onward. So for people who are paying for the wedding or who have played a big role in the wedding planning process, you need to communicate your plans in person or on the phone for a few reasons. For one, they can actually see the emotion in your face and get a really good, a better idea as to why you're doing this. Maybe have a more emotional connection to your plan to cancel your wedding. And it's also so that if they have any questions or concerns, you are right there and your advocate is right there to answer them. And there's no opportunity for confusion. So other people who, maybe you've mentioned inviting them to a wedding, or they know you're engaged and they're expecting a wedding invite, but they're not really that close to the planning process, a mass email is okay. I recommend using the BCC for your email list as opposed to CC. That way people aren't seeing all the emails all the email addresses that you're communicating to or sending this message to. But it's okay to send a mass email. But for those who you are close with, definitely avoid social media. Don't tell people through Facebook. Don't tell people through Instagram. Call them. It is courteous. It's the best way to go about it. If you can see them in person, if they live close by, go stop by their house and have a conversation in person. Don't have anxiety and do it on social media. It's just not social anxiety. It's just not the best thing to do. Weddings are a big deal for a lot of people, and a lot of people, especially who have raised you or have been involved in your upbringing, like childhood friends, they're looking forward to this and they really want to celebrate with you. So if they were to if I were to find out that my best friend's wedding was canceled through Facebook or something, I'd be devastated. I'd be like, why didn't you talk to me in person about this? But yes, communicate this face to face. So once all your family and friends have been notified, then it's time to reach out to your vendors. Start with the, obviously the big, your venue, and then any vendors who you think maybe have stakes in the game. So if you've placed deposits, start with them. You don't even need to give them a reason why you're canceling if you don't want to. note those vendors who have services that you maybe want to repurpose. So, for example, if you've already hired a photographer and a videographer, and you're deciding that you want to elope instead of having a wedding, it's very likely that that photographer or videographer will work with you and will transfer your deposit to an elopement service, especially if you are using the same date. If you are talking with people like caterers or somebody maybe like a DJ, somebody with services you maybe can't like repurpose for your elopement day, maybe you talk to them about like sizing down and using like the catering package or the music for some other event. That way you don't just ask. Don't give your vendors a hard time. You did sign a contract. That contract is to protect the both of you. So note that you did sign a contract. So if you break that contract or you breach it, it is on you. So you don't, need to, if somebody's not going to credit back a retainer that they told you was non-refundable, you can't get mad at them. That isn't on them. It's on you. So yeah, check your contracts to see if there are rescheduling fees, or if you can repurpose. Repurpose as much as you can. Whatever you can't is a loss. So once your guests are aware, your vendors are aware, then it's time to start canceling and working out your travel arrangements. So if you've blocked out hotels for guests, make sure you call the hotel and cancel. If you've, booked flights, get your flight credit back if you can, or cancel them if you can, or maybe change flights to a different location if you're eloping. So work out all those little details. The fourth step here is to cancel any registrations, or registries, I should say, or if anyone has sent you gifts, make sure you send those back. This step is important, but it is not high priority. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Take your time. Get to it when you can. If obviously you have communicated with guests that your wedding is canceled and you have a registry out there, like it is good during that time to just let them know, like, we are canceling our wedding. I know we have a registry out there, but we're going to cancel that registry. We're not going to ask people to send us gifts. Let them know that. Some people who have already sent you gifts may very well say, no, keep whatever already sent you, but otherwise send those, send gifts back to the sender. That's the polite and right thing to do. The fifth step that I have here is to remember self-care. So in this process, like I said in the beginning, canceling a wedding is not supposed to be an easy decision to make, or an easy process to get through. So make sure throughout all of this, you are taking some time to not think about the wedding. Take a day where you're not talking about it with your partner or your friends. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself during this process. You're not letting stress get the best of you. Sleep, eat, exercise, socialize, do what you need to do to kind of take this off of your mind as much as possible, so that the process doesn't seem daunting. It just seems like a decision you've made in your life. And do whatever you need to do to disperse that stress, and don't be afraid to ask for help. I know a lot of people feel like all of this is on them, but ask your vendors for help, ask your friends for help. At the end of the day, it is your wedding, so you need to do what's best for you. And if eloping instead of having a big wedding is the way to go, know that that is how you've decided to do things. So it is what it is. That's the decision you've made. Work around that decision and keep that in the forefront of anything. If you have any other suggestions for anyone else, please leave them in the comments below. If you think that this could be helpful for a friend, be sure to send it to them. If it's helpful for you, definitely bookmark it for later. And remember, in all of this, it's your wedding.